The house was never completely quiet. Natalie realized that on her third night there. At first, the sounds felt harmless. The soft creak of old wooden floors settling after midnight. Pipes rattling somewhere deep inside the walls. Branches scratching against windows during heavy wind. The house was nearly 80 years old, sitting alone near the edge of a forest outside town. People expected old houses to make noises, but not footsteps. At exactly 2:07 a.m., Natalie woke suddenly to the unmistakable sound of someone walking above her bedroom. Slow. Measured. One step at a time. Her eyes opened into darkness, while her heartbeat instantly accelerated. She stayed perfectly still beneath the blankets, listening. Another footstep. The attic. Natalie sat up slowly, trying to convince herself she was imagining things. She lived alone. She had inherited the property after her aunt passed away 6 months earlier, and nobody else even had keys. The footsteps continued. Creak. Pause, like someone pacing carefully across the attic floor. Her throat tightened. The attic had been locked since she moved in. Natalie grabbed her phone from the nightstand and checked the security app connected to the cameras outside the house. No movement. The front doors were still locked, yet the footsteps above her grew louder. Then they stopped completely. Silence flooded the room. Natalie stared toward the ceiling, barely breathing. That's when she heard something drag slowly across the attic floor. A chair. Or something heavier. Fear crawled beneath her skin. She climbed out of bed carefully and reached for the baseball bat she kept beside the closet. Every floorboard beneath her feet sounded too loud as she stepped into the upstairs hallway. Cold air drifted down from the attic staircase. Natalie froze. The attic door was open. She was certain she had locked it earlier that week. Thunder exploded outside as rain slammed against the roof. Natalie raised the bat shakily and climbed the narrow staircase one step at a time. The attic smelled like dust and wet wood. Darkness swallowed everything beyond the doorway. "Nobody's here," she whispered nervously, mostly to herself. Then she saw it. At the far end of the attic, an old rocking chair moved slowly back and forth on its own. Creak, creak. Natalie's chest tightened. The chair suddenly stopped moving. And from somewhere deep in the darkness, a voice whispered softly, "Natalie." She ran. The baseball bat slipped from her hands as she sprinted downstairs, locking herself inside her bedroom. Her entire body shook violently while she pressed against the door, listening for movement upstairs. Nothing. No footsteps, no voice, only silence. Then her phone vibrated. Unknown number. A text message appeared. "You shouldn't have opened the attic." Natalie barely slept. By sunrise, she had convinced herself the whisper in the attic had been stress, exhaustion, maybe even a nightmare caused by isolation. But the text message remained on her phone. Real. At noon, she finally gathered enough courage to return upstairs. The attic door was closed again. Locked. Natalie stood frozen in the hallway. She knew she hadn't closed it. With trembling hands, she unlocked the attic and pushed the door open carefully. Nothing inside looked disturbed. The rocking chair sat motionless in the corner. Dust covered the floor untouched. No footprints. No sign anyone had been there. Yet Natalie couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her. She began searching through old boxes stacked near the attic walls, hoping distraction would calm her nerves. Most contained ordinary things: old clothes, holiday decorations, faded books. Then she found a leather storage case hidden beneath a blanket. Inside were dozens of photographs. Most showed the house years earlier. And nearly every picture included the same man. Tall, dark hair, sharp eyes. Sometimes he stood near the windows, sometimes beside the staircase, sometimes staring directly into the camera. Written on the back of one photograph was a name: Elias Turner. Natalie continued flipping through the pictures until one made her entire body go cold. The photograph showed the downstairs living room, the exact furniture arrangement, the same curtains, the same cracked lamp near the bookshelf. And standing beside the staircase was Natalie. Her breath caught instantly. She wore the same gray sweater she had unpacked only last week. The photograph slipped from her fingers. On the back was a date, October 12th, 2014. 12 years before she moved into the house. "That's impossible," she whispered. A sudden noise outside the attic window made her jump. Natalie rushed toward the glass. Deep within the woods behind the property stood a figure, a man, Martianless, watching the house. Rain began falling lightly as Natalie squinted through the trees. The man looked familiar. Her stomach tightened. It was the same man from the photographs, Elias Turner. Then he slowly raised one hand and smiled. Natalie stumbled backward in panic. When she looked outside again seconds later, he was gone. That evening she locked every door and window in the house. At 11:43 p.m., the kitchen light suddenly turned on downstairs. Natalie stared from the top of the staircase, frozen in fear. A shadow moved slowly across the kitchen floor. Someone was inside the house, and this time, she wasn't alone anymore. Natalie called the police the next morning. 2 officers searched the property thoroughly while she explained the noises, the attic whisper, and the figure in the woods. But after an hour they found nothing unusual, no signs of forced entry. One officer told her gently, "Old houses can play tricks on people." Natalie forced herself to nod, but she knew what she saw. That night, she couldn't stop replaying the kitchen shadow in her mind. Someone had been downstairs. Around midnight, while sitting silently in bed, she heard it again. A scratching noise. This time it came from inside the walls. Natalie slowly approached the bedroom wall beside her closet. Scratch. Pause. Scratch. Like someone crawling through narrow spaces hidden behind the house. Her pulse raced. She pressed her ear closer, then heard breathing, not her own. She grabbed a flashlight and began examining the wall carefully until she noticed faint scrape marks near the closet floor. The wooden panel looked newer than the rest. Heart pounding, Natalie pulled harder. The panel shifted. A hidden doorway appeared. Cold air rushed from the darkness beyond. Natalie hesitated only a second before stepping inside. The narrow passage stretched between the walls of the house. Dust covered the floor, but fresh footprints moved deeper inside. Someone had used this recently. Very recently. The hidden corridor eventually opened into a small concealed room. Natalie's flashlight shook violently as she looked around. A mattress, canned food, water bottles, books, a portable radio, and surveillance monitors. Every screen showed different parts of the house. Her bedroom, the kitchen, the staircase, even the bathroom hallway. Natalie felt physically sick. Someone had been watching her constantly. Then she noticed photographs pinned across one wall. Hundreds of them. Photos of her sleeping, reading, cooking, crying. One picture had been taken only hours earlier. A sudden noise echoed behind the wall. Footsteps. Approaching quickly. Natalie spun toward the hidden doorway. Too late. A shadow appeared at the far end of the corridor. A man stepped into the dim light. Older now. Thin. Exhausted. But unmistakably the same man from the photographs. Elias Turner. Natalie backed away in terror. Elias raised both hands immediately. "Please," he said urgently. "You need to stay quiet." Natalie grabbed a metal pipe from the floor. "Stay away from me." Elias looked terrified, but not of her. "Someone followed me here." Before Natalie could respond, loud engine sounds echoed outside the house. Headlights flashed through cracks in the walls. Elias's face went pale. "They found us." The power outage swallowed the house instantly. Natalie could barely breathe inside the hidden room, while headlights moved slowly outside. Multiple vehicles. Elias rushed toward the surveillance monitors, but every screen had gone black. "They cut the electricity," he whispered. Natalie still held the metal pipe tightly. "Who are they?" Elias looked toward her with exhausted eyes. "The people who destroyed my life." Outside, car doors slammed. Voices echoed faintly through the storm. Natalie's fear slowly shifted into confusion. "If you've been hiding here all this time," she asked carefully, "why not go to the police?" Elias laughed bitterly. "Because the police work for them." He explained everything quickly. 20 years earlier, Elias worked as an engineer for a private medical research company operating outside town. Officially, they developed neurological treatments. Unofficially, they conducted illegal human experiments. People disappeared. Records vanished. When Elias tried exposing the operation, company executives accused him of mental instability and fabricated evidence against him. "They turned me into a ghost," he said quietly. Natalie struggled to process the story. Then Elias revealed the part that shattered her completely. "Your father knew about it." Natalie froze. "My father died years ago. He tried stopping them near the end, but before that, he helped cover everything up. The room felt colder suddenly. Natalie remembered her father as kind, calm, dependable, not someone connected to crimes. Elias stepped closer carefully. He hid evidence somewhere inside this house before he died. A loud crash interrupted him. The front door downstairs had been forced open. Natalie jumped. Heavy footsteps moved through the house below. "They're inside," Elias whispered. Flashlights swept across cracks in the hidden walls while voices searched room by room. Natalie's pulse thundered. Then one voice downstairs spoke clearly. "Find the girl first." Elias looked at Natalie gravely. "They're not here for me anymore." The power died without warning. 1 second the hidden room glowed under the pale light of old computer monitors. Then darkness swallowed everything. Natalie's breathing turned uneven, as heavy footsteps echoed through the house above them. Men shouted to each other while doors slammed open one by one. "They're here," Elias whispered. He rushed toward an old metal lockbox hidden beneath the floorboards, and pulled out stacks of files, photographs, and videotapes. "This is the evidence," he said urgently. "Everything they buried for 20 years. Natalie's hands trembled as she flipped through the documents. Names of missing people, medical records, secret payments. Then she saw her father's signature across several pages. Her stomach dropped. He really helped them. Elias lowered his eyes. But before he died, he tried exposing everything. A loud crash interrupted him. The hidden entrance shook violently. "Open it," a voice shouted outside. Natalie quickly connected the old computer to the internet, while Elias pushed furniture against the doorway. The upload bar moved painfully slow. 18%. Another bang exploded through the wall. Wood splintered. Outside, flashlight beams cut through the cracks. "Hurry," Elias yelled. 56%. The hidden door finally cracked open several inches. A hand reached through, holding a gun. Natalie hit the final upload command. 92%. Gunfire erupted. Elias stumbled backward, blood spreading across his shoulder. "No," Natalie screamed. But Elias forced himself upright and blocked the doorway again. 100% complete. At that exact moment, police sirens echoed outside the house. The intruders panicked instantly. Footsteps ran through the halls above them as officers stormed the property. Natalie turned toward Elias, but he was gone. Only a handwritten note rested beside the computer. "Now you understand why I could never leave." Then, somewhere upstairs in the silent house, the old rocking chair began moving again.